Is it starting?
It was waiting for normal desktop. You're good. You're good.
Oh.
It's live. You're live.
Awesome. Yep. Hey guys, this is Pac. I'm at Noble Desktop today. This is our headquarters, located at Madison and 34th Street. Come check us out. So, today we're going to talk about Intro to Full Stack JavaScript. And you can go to this website to check out the slides. NobleDesktop.com presentation Intro to Full Stack JavaScript. So I'm going to maximize this. We are going to discuss what is web development, software development, what is JavaScript, what is full stack JavaScript, what is React, what is the MERN Stack, why does startup favor the MERN Stack, what are the benefits of learning the MERN Stack, how to set yourself up for success, and why you should learn with Noble Desktop. What is web and software development? Web development is building and creating websites. Developers are responsible for many technical aspects. Here are a few of technical aspects: bringing beautiful design to life, turning them into working code, how to handle traffic, user interactivity, performance, such as optimizing for speed. Now, web development and software development, they overlap. But web development, one would argue, app development, web app development and software development have a lot more features, a lot more sophisticated compared to web development. Now, if this is your first time hearing this, no worries. This is an overview, bird's eye view of what's web development and software development. Now we look at what are HTML and CSS. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, tags, label. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, styling the content. So you go to archive.org, you can search old website. So it doesn't let you go back all the way from the old times. So it only goes as far as it goes 2017. So let me see if Google actually let you go how far it lets you go. Maybe I should be more specific. Google.com. Oh yeah, you can see that. Let's go back to 1996. There's nothing. Oh, right here, 1998. Right? You can click in here. Click that. And that's the time where they take full snapshot. This is the original Google search engine. And you can look at, you see how many versions of this progressively keep getting updated. Now, this is current date. So if I were to go back, I'm gonna go to 2000. It's loading, it's fetching from the database. Now, meanwhile, this is fetching. See how Google used to look like this? Very plain and very simple. And you can go to vlib and we'll take a look. Now, plain HTML, right? You can see there's a body tag, p tag, a tag, break. And the CSS is what's styling our website. So if I were to, I can change this to 0, 0, 0, change it to black. Well, this is not a permanent save, okay? But you can see that the CSS is what's styling the website. HTML, it's just the content of the website. It used to just be a page. You can't do much in there. Search, maybe they have a phone number for you to call, or maybe an email, right? You have a bunch of other websites too. This is old school website, let you search. Now, if you look at modern website, you get Stripe. Sorry, there's a bug. Keep flying into my face. How beautiful modern website is. Stripe, it's one of the best payment API you can use. It handle your payment, it handle your sales. Especially good for e-commerce. So Airbnb, we'll call this a web app. It is like a hybrid of it is on a website, but it's not a website. It's not really a website. It's an application. It has a lot of features. It could allow me to favor this Airbnb. I can search at guests anywhere. You can look at Arctic. So it'll pull a bunch of data for us. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. So we will call this a web app. So software development app which more user activity compared to web, much more sophisticated, but they all share similar principle. Now, both require planning, but software development involve a lot more planning, testing, designing, deploying, and updating. A website, as we can see in the old days, you don't really update that much. It's not much functionality. With software development, you're constantly, because there's business aspect to it, you're constantly updating, you're constantly building new feature based on the business needs. So mobile app would be Uber, Airbnb, as I mentioned, Instagram. Desktop app, Google Chrome, Slack, Discord. And web apps, Google Sheets, Seamless, Airbnb, right? So desktop app, meaning these are desktop app. So you look at this, these are desktop apps. What is JavaScript? It's a scripting or programming language that allows you to implement complex features on web pages. So MDM, it's one of the most widely used JavaScript documentation website. Anyone that is a programmer is very familiar with this website. Now, history of JavaScript. JavaScript was invented at 95 by Brandon, who at the time was a developer at Netscape. The purpose of JavaScript was to create user interaction and more powerful web browser. So it used to be Web 1.0. It just kind of does nothing. Web 2, its user have a lot more interaction. So we're getting into Web 3, right? With the whole crypto, blockchain. But website that uses JavaScript, basically, almost a lot of website uses JavaScript. But to name a few, Twitter, Amazon, Wikipedia. There's a lot more, most of the website uses JavaScript for client side. And you can use JavaScript to build games. You can play this game in here. You can start. See, it tells you turn, accelerate. Right, these are all done in JavaScript. It's pretty cool, right? It connects to your keyboard. These are the client events, right? Right. So it's pretty cool with JavaScript. This is what you could build. And these are the games you can play. These are the apps. These are very old school website. Okay, start. Right. You can play. Not all done in JavaScript and logic. And this is one of the most popular games on the web. You can play Pac-Man. Or you gotta log in to play. Right? So if you wish to play, you can go to this website. Oops. Now, benefit of learning JavaScript. It's easy to start and beginners friendly. So there's this argument about old school coder, what new school coder is. When you learn programming, you should learn C, Java, right? Now, I talked to a lot of old school programmers. They all unanimously tell me one thing. They used to pull their hair out, banging their head against the wall to try to figure it out, like how does C and Java work? How do you get it to work? A lot of experimentation. Supporting. So JavaScript has a huge supporting community and tons of documents, right? JavaScript is so easy to learn. There's a lot of documentation. It's very beginners friendly. So if you're new to learn programming, I would recommend you learn JavaScript first and then move on into learning more classical language. Because once you pick up somewhat have more context, well, what's a string, what's an array, what's an object, what's a loop, what's a switch statement, what's a function, what's a class, it makes learning a lot easier when you just learn classical language from the start. The argument was you build good habits, you build bad habits using JavaScript and good habits with using classical language. I somewhat agree and disagree at the same time. So I would say start with the easier one so the barrier of entry is much lower, but your learning doesn't stop there. You continue to build up your coding skills. JavaScript is just a foot in the door. There's other things that you need to work on. And interactive and it's responsive. And it's compatible with all the browsers. And a lot of framework and libraries. There's a tons of framework and libraries, and we're going to talk about that. And you can also create desktop app and mobile app. And we'll get into that in a second. Traditionally, to create a desktop and mobile app, you will need to learn classical language, iOS. Modern language would be Swift, Objective-C, C, and C++. These are the things that you need to learn. For Android, you will learn Java, C, and C++. It's a lot to learn. Especially you have to learn C, C++, and Objective-C because they all thrive from C. They all came from C. But JavaScript makes it possible to build both desktop and mobile apps. JavaScript libraries and framework. So, as I mentioned, how can you build desktop app and mobile app? Electron built cross-platform desktop with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. VS Studio Code, WhatsApp, Twitch, Slack, InVision. They are all built on Electron. React Native allows you to build both iOS and Android using JavaScript. Which is pretty awesome. You see how much benefits that you can get just from learning JavaScript? And Slack, VS Code, Discord, they're all built on Electron. Example, React Native, Instagram. I'm sure if you are on social media, most likely you will be using Instagram, Facebook. And if you're an e-commerce person, you are most likely using Shopify, and your Shopify mobile app, it's built on React Native. Now, what is full stack JavaScript? Front-end JavaScript is also known as the client side. Client-side application have a user interface which allow user to interact with the application. For example, Google.com allows you to search for information. Now with Airbnb, well, see how all these beautiful design, and you can choose, hey, I'm flexible, Europe, South America, like you can pick the region, right? And let's just say I want to search for LA. Have check in, check out. I'm gonna go with a bunch of my friends. Right? It gave me a list of available Airbnb. Right? Now, this is a web app. You have a lot of interactivity. Backend JavaScript, also known as server-side. A server-side application runs on the server. It could exist on a computer or in the cloud, and it also understands HTTP requests, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, what is Node.js? In 2008, Google releases their Chrome web browser using the Google V8 engine. In 2009, the great Ryan Dahl used the Google V engine to run JavaScript without using a browser. That gave birth to Node.js. It allows us to create a server, read files, send messages, access a database, and a lot more you can do. So, learning full stack development right now, it's much simpler. The reason why it's simpler is you can just learn one language, JavaScript, and you can do front end, and you can do the back end. So you can learn client side and server side development using one language, versus you would have to before this, right? You will have to learn Ruby for back end if you use Ruby on Rails. You also need to learn Python. Not only you learn Python, you might need to learn PHP, SQL. You also SQL, SQL language, and HTML, CSS. On top of that, you also gotta learn design, right? So JavaScript allows us to start with front end and back end at the same time. So what is NPM? Stands for Node Package Manager. NPM has one of the world's largest pre-written software registry. It's an open source community. So you look at this, people join forces around the world and help create libraries for us to use. Most of the time it's free, and it's great. Thank you, these people out there. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone who contributed to the JavaScript community. So with the help of, so basically I'd like to think of NPM as a buffet where, what people created, what can you use, right? Because of that, it actually helped propel Node to be one of the most commonly used platform, right? Node.js, let's go, Node. So what is a database? A database is electronic data storage that allows data to be retrieved, created, updated, and deleted. So I like to think of a database as like a notepad. My secretary would write down a person's name, person's address, and when I call her, hey, I call my secretary, say, hey, can I get Mr. Joe's number? My secretary would go to the Rolodex or her notebook or whatever that might be, look up the information. That information, it's what, instead of putting on a notepad, that's on the database, right? It's on electronic level. Before a database was created, we're doing same thing without an actual electronic database. A Rolodex, it's a database. You're putting names of a notepad of your friends or family, that's a database. But since that we don't physically write it down anymore, we use an actual physical database. Right, that's an electronic database. And there's two types of database: structural query language database, SQL. That's a relational database. And you might be wondering, what's a relational database? So relational database, mainly it's very good at understanding your customers, understanding big data. So you have a table of person one and jobs, right? Imagine you're a huge company, you have different types of employees, the job title. So you have a database of person. So actually, I'm gonna draw this out for you guys. So I'll have person database, and I'll also have job title. So you have a unique ID 1, person Joe, and you have Mo, right? And you have a foreign key. I'm gonna call this foreign key 1 as well, 1, 2, 3. So this foreign key will have 1, 2, 3. And you're gonna have title will be, so this is the ID. You have job title, and you're gonna say you're gonna be engineer. So let me clean this up. ID, it's 1, name Joe Mo, and job title, the ID will be 1, 2, 3, right? It has a relationship. It has a relationship, and this job title is engineer, right? ID belongs to this person. Now you might have multiple another person. And you have ID 2. It will be George Mo. Okay? They could also have the same ID. So now we can actually look at, hey, who are the high performance employee, right? They can look at the job title. Hey, I want to know how many people work as an engineer in this company. All you have to do, make a query search, then you can see that there's 2 people working as an engineer, right? So that's called structural query language. That's the gist of it. Next one called NoSQL database, non-relational database. And they are not strict. So this is an example of SQL database. There are rows and columns, and you can use Postgres and Microsoft SQL. NoSQL database do not have rows or column. It's a document. If you look carefully, it's a JSON. Well, underneath the hood, MongoDB, it's BSON, but let's not get into that. But you can think of them, they are JSON. Okay, they are JSON objects. It doesn't have rows, and it doesn't have any columns. And what is React? React is a front-end library created by Facebook. Go Facebook. React was created to develop scalable, flexible, and reusable web and mobile apps. One of the advantages of using React is the speed. React apps are fast, and when you optimize React apps, it's super fast. And company using React, you have Uber, Netflix, Airbnb, and many more. And what is the MERN Stack? The MERN Stack is MongoDB database, Express, that's the server, React for front-end library. And Node, as we talked about, it's the Node framework that we're using. We call this the MERN Stack. And it's a common, they all underneath the hood are using Node and JavaScript to power, to put the stack together. MongoDB database is not just strictly for MERN Stack, it is a database, but MongoDB created a Node.js driver that we can use. Express is a server, it's a Node framework that allow us to start a server seamlessly. React, it's a front-end library that Facebook created for us to build beautiful, beautiful client side. Node, again, it's just a Node framework. Now, if you put front-end, back-end together, that's full stack. The combination of MongoDB, Express, React, and Node allows coder to build full-stack web and mobile application. The entire stack is powered by JavaScript. Therefore, learning JavaScript will allow you to build client-side and server-side without needing other languages, making it easier to get into full-stack development. Now, company using the MERN Stack, Discord, Netflix, WhatsApp, Instagram, and many more. So let me give you a visual representation. Now, think of this as a browser. This is the website. Excuse my beautiful drawing. And pretend to be Airbnb, right? You have card, all this. And someone searches, hey, I want to go to Los Angeles. It's gonna go to, it's a GET request. And there's a query. And you're going to put location equals to LA, right? To GET request. Now it's going to hit a server. Then it's going to hit a database. This database, it's what store location, LA, name, cool hotel, and price $500 per night. Okay, so based on the criteria that we send in, we send it to the server. The server is attached to the database, so we're going to search up the database, the query that fits what we want, and it will give us back the data just like Airbnb that fits what I'm looking for. So I've been sitting the whole day, so I'm gonna have a standing desk. And for those of you watching at home, you should invest in a standing desk if you can. It's great for your back and neck. Now that's the gist of. So the server could be living somewhere. This is living somewhere. So that's like the very, very rudimentary of full stack development. Now, benefits of learning the MERN Stack: you gain a deep knowledge of front-end and back-end development. Once you have a broad understanding of how full stack development works, you can apply the same principle to technology step. Learning new tech will be easier and faster. Once you understand the principle, oh, I'm just making HTTP requests to fetch some data, populate some data, and update the data and delete the data. That's the gist of full stack development. Of course, there's a lot of little advanced topics such as deployment, load balancer, Amazon Web Service, all that. Now, learning coding it's a highly mentally taxing and intensive. You will need to you will have to work hard, pay attention, and above all else, practice. So, there's no shortcut to learning anything, right? Practice, take notes, it'll think like a scientist. Think in step, write out your thought process, and think out loud. Teach your classmate the new material you are learning, and don't be afraid to fail, and don't give up. So learning, one of the biggest things is, if you're trying to understand fully what you are learning, you have to teach it. The teaching part somehow puts you in an aggressive mental state where, okay, I need to explain what I'm learning. You might understand it and you might be able to use it, but explain it will put you into another level. It will actually help you to marinate, to solidify what you are learning. Now, why attend Noble Desktop? We have a smaller class, one-on-one attention, lots of hands-on exercise, challenges for homework, resume review, interview prep. So what you really want, it's a lot of practice, a lot of one-on-one time, and we're also going to give you tons of homework that you need to practice. Right? Because you are trying to work for someone and you need the skills. Skills is what you will get hired for. Now, you can go to our website and learn more about full stack or just JavaScript or just software engineering certificate. You can scroll down to see our schedule, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. You can look at the curriculum, see what you're going to build. and you're doing full stack. You're learning Node, Express, MongoDB. Remember, we're smaller classes, and we tend to give you a lot of attention. So today, this is just an overview of full stack JavaScript webinar. I hope you enjoy my webinar, and I will look forward to seeing you in class. So if you have any question about our class, please don't hesitate to message us on our website. And if you go to our website, you can click on this, and we'll answer every question that you have, and we'll look forward for you to attending our classes. Now, one last thing, if full stack development isn't something you're pursuing, we have tons of other classes. We have design classes, video editing, motion graphic, UX and UI, Sketch, AutoCAD, Illustrator. For business, we have Excel. We have digital marketing, Google Analytics, financial modeling, project management, data analytics, right? So our school are catered to help you advance in your career and learn new skills. And I look forward to seeing you guys in our classes. You guys have a good one.